great full room tonight. If you aren't here for the Citizen of the Year Awards, that's why we're so full. We're celebrating tonight. So what a great reason to have a packed room of people here to tell us good news. We have a couple of things on the agenda before we get to the Citizen of the Year Awards, and it'll be a couple of minutes in. So just let us take care of a few business items and off we go, and I'll explain that process next. If we should encounter an emergency situation tonight, we'll all exit the building. You've got 2 doors off of the lobby that you can exit, and if for some reason those are not available, there's another exit behind council here. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and we will not re-enter the building until we're given an all clear from staff. Next, we'll go to our land acknowledgement. Councillor Parsons.
The town of Sylvan Lake respectfully acknowledges that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory, home of the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. These lands are traditional meeting grounds, gathering places, and travel routes for many nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Métis, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and to those who have gone before us. We acknowledge and thank all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Parsons. Next, we go into our proclamations, and we have 3 that we have been requested of us tonight. And the first one is for Menstrual Health Day, May 28th. And it is as follows. Whereas the Period Purse is a registered charity that launched in Toronto in 2017, the Period Purse strives to achieve menstrual equity by providing people who menstruate access to free menstrual products and to regulate the negative stigma associated with periods through education and advocacy. And whereas initiated by a German nonprofit, Wash United, in 2014, Menstrual Health Day is a global day of action with more than 830 partner organizations working together to catalyze awareness and action towards a world without period poverty and stigma. And whereas the date May 28th represents the average menstrual cycle, this day highlights the importance of menstrual equity and public education that advocates for equitable access to proper menstrual health. And whereas Menstrual Health Day raises awareness about challenges that women, girls, and gender diverse people experience due to menstruation, and whereas through the open dialogue to help consider taboos surrounding periods, we can work to provide equitable access to period needs and products. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of May 28th, 2025 as Menstrual Health Day in the town of Sylvan Lake. And our next proclamation, oh, you're not sitting on the same side anymore, so I can't even, is for Alberta Seniors Week. This is June 2nd to 8th. And it is as follows. Whereas seniors are a diverse population within a society that supports its members throughout the life continuum and recognizes individual rights to dignity, respect, anonymity, there we go, and choice. And whereas seniors continue to serve as leaders, as they are around our table, mentors, volunteers, and important and active members of the community. And whereas seniors in the town of Sylvan Lake, through various contributions, have helped establish a town which reflects a unique cultural and ethnic heritage. The town of Sylvan Lake is committed to ensuring that the voices of seniors are valued as partners in shaping the future of the town. And whereas their contributions, past and present, warrant appreciation and recognition for their story, and their stories deserve to be told. And whereas Seniors Week is a time to acknowledge the diversity of the seniors and increase public awareness of their vital role in our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do hereby proclaim the week of June 2nd to 8th, 2025 as Seniors Week within the town of Sylvan Lake. Thank you. And the final proclamation to start the night, I'll tell you, May is a busy month for these. This is not typical, but is the Recreation and Parks Month, which is all of June 2025. And it is as follows. Whereas in Alberta, we are fortunate to have a variety of recreation and park systems providing countless recreational opportunities for all residents and visitors from around the world. And whereas recreation and parks enhance quality of life, active living, leisure education, and lifelong learning. It helps people live happier and longer, develop skills and positive self-image in children and youth, develops creativity and builds healthy bodies and positive lifestyles, and enhances overall mental health and well-being. And whereas recreation and parks build family unity and social capital, strengthens volunteer and community development, enhances social interaction, creates community pride and vitality, promotes equity, inclusivity, sensitivity, and understanding to cultural diversity, and fosters a sense of belonging. And whereas the benefits provided by recreation and parks programs and services reduce healthcare and social services costs, serve to boost the economy, economic renewal and sustainability, enhance property value, decrease vandalism, attract new business, increase tourism, and curb employee absenteeism. And whereas all levels of government, the voluntary sector, and the private enterprise throughout the province participate in the planning, development, and operation of recreation and parks programs, services, and facilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim June 2025 as Recreation and Parks Month in the town of Sylvan Lake. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for any member of the public to address council on an issue or something that they'd like to make us aware of. Open microphone is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, and each resident appearing before council during an open microphone session shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes of speaking time. Each resident requesting to speak during open microphone shall sign up in person. Oh, I'm reading from the wrong script. Thank you for signing up tonight, and we are happy to hear from you. So we do have one sign up tonight for open microphone, and that's Mr. Detre. Welcome. And you know the drill, but we will hear a number of beeps, and then we're happy to hear from you.
Your Worship, consider good evening. I had the opportunity, I would say the chance, to participate to 3 of the 4 in-person social master plan focus group, and I would like to compliment Sylvan Lake for organizing this consultation online or in person. However, I would like to bring a few suggestions for future consideration. The in-person groups were made of 75 to 80% ladies, with the balance being men, obviously. The ensuing discussion shows men's perspective to be far more practical. That imbalance has an obvious impact on the overall deliberation. It would be beneficial to keep a fair balance between sexes. Beside Mandy and her helper, and I would like to compliment Mandy for the work she did, about half of the other attendees, and this is my guess because I don't know everybody, so half of the other attendees seems to have been town's employees. My earlier career led me to appreciate that most public servants did not choose that career by accident. They take great pride in providing quality service. However, this also gives them a perspective which is not the folks' perspective. The implemented rating system created its own bias. For example, in a 10-option list, options were to be rated from 1, best, to 10, less interesting. For argument's sake, you may like 3 options and consider the other 7 as beyond consideration. So the 3 best options will collectively receive 6 points, while the 7 lesser options will collectively receive 49 points when they should have been credited with 70. This rating system automatically increases the likelihood of the lesser options to be better rated than they should. This, in turn, is likely to spread future effort implementation on more options than would be optimal. Several participants left various options unrated, which I interpreted that they did not care for them. However, this may have the effect of promoting unpopular options, as the lower the rating, the higher the interest. So, inverting the rating order 10 for best would eliminate that bias. Of the 3 staff facilitating the discussion at my table, 2, for whatever reason, were pushing some specific option. Kudos for their leadership, but this is another involuntary bias. Respectfully submitted, Mike Detare. 1 minute 36. I'm beating my record here.
Well done. Council, do we have any questions for tonight? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation and submission. All right, we'll move along to adoption of the agenda. Mr. McIntyre, do we have any adjustments to tonight's agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. We've got one for Council's consideration, and that is to relocate item 7B, the 2025 Q1 Concerns and Requests Report, into 8G under Correspondence and Information Items. The reason for this is there's no resolution attached to the report. It's just for Council's information.
Excellent. And you asked me earlier, but I've changed my mind from the answer I told you. I would love to move the consent agenda just right under our public hearings tonight, or right under the first public hearing, if that is okay.
We can
Let's get to the
do
fun.
that.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Councillor Rilling?
I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Excellent. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Next, we are moving right along to public hearings and delegation. It's a pretty exciting night tonight. Let me explain a little bit about the process, but we're excited to formally announce the recipients of this year's Citizens of the Year. So what we'll do is I have a bit of a blurb about each of them. After I say all the great things about you, we'll bring you up and pass you your certificate. We'll probably snap a photo as we do this, but this is not your photo op, so don't worry too much about that. We'll go through all of the awards, and there's only a couple of them tonight, and then we'll actually take a recess from this meeting, and we'll head to the, just outside of this room, and we'll take some nice photos and have the time to do that, and we're happy to have you take them with family, and any other configuration, we'll do some with council, and we'll take the time to do that right, because you don't win this kind of an award every single week. So I have to, Councillor. Yes, thank you. With that, you know, one of the best parts about this role, and I think for all of council sitting around the table, is when we get the opportunity to recognize the great things that are happening in Sylvan Lake and the great people that live here. So this is very exciting for us. Tonight I have the honor of sharing stories of some truly outstanding individuals. These people that don't just live in our community, but they make it better in big ways, and in small ways, and in seen ways and unseen ways. So thank you to everyone who is recognized tonight. And we'll begin with the Longtime Service Volunteer Award. This couple that won this award has been giving back to Sylvan Lake since the 1960s. Yes, you heard that right. From curling and figure skating to Meals on Wheels and the food bank, their legacy of service spans generations. Dale's longtime role with the Lions Club and Shirley's quiet commitment to feeding neighbors in need remind us that dedication doesn't always wear a spotlight, but it always makes a difference. It's great folks like Shirley and Dale who remind us that small acts of kindness over many years build a community strong enough to last generations. Congratulations to this year's Longtime Service Volunteer Award winners, Shirley and Dale Mannix. You know, one of the neat things about this award is or these awards in general, we've really revamped how we've done these in recent years. And instead of a big stuffy award ceremony, although this could be seen as that, I suppose, but it's brief. We really enjoy that, one, we get to go enjoy something fun with you in a couple of weeks, and two, that you'll be celebrated for the next year with your names on a plaque in the Next Source Center. So it's great. All right, next up is... Sorry, we're just skipping one. Next is the Environmental Stewardship Award, where we honor those working to keep Sylvan Lake green and growing. The winner of this award is Lindsay. She's a local gardener guru with a 1/4-acre homestead and a heart for bees and a deep love of nature. She's out here replacing her lawn with clover and encouraging others to live a little greener through seed swaps, planting challenges, and a pretty incredible social media presence. She's making sustainability not only accessible, but fun. Congratulations to this year's Environmental Stewardship Award winner, Lindsay Kowalczyk. All right, next, we're talking sports. I wonder if you could guess by looking in the gallery who might be the winner of this. The Sports Involvement Award recognizes someone who's shaping our athletes of tomorrow. Ryan Lucas has devoted countless hours to youth baseball in Sylvan Lake. Whether it's player development, umpire mentorship, or coaching leadership, Ryan is building a sports culture rooted in growth, grit, and teamwork. His commitment to youth baseball is nothing short of home run worthy, and our athletes are stronger because of him. Congratulations to this year's Sports Involvement Award winner, Ryan Lucas. Now, let's celebrate a shining young leader with the Youth Award of Excellence. This award is selected already from the winners of our Youth of Excellence Awards. So just being in the running for this means that you have already won in the respective award category, which is pretty great. If resilience and compassion had a superhero, her name would be Minnow. From volunteering in minus 40-degree weather to leading major fundraising campaigns, Minnow never backs down from a challenge. She mentors with heart, leads with strength, and reminds us that true leadership isn't always the loudest voice in the room. It's the one that listens, uplifts, and consistently shows up. And Minnow doesn't just show up, she inspires others to believe in what's possible when you lead with love and grit. Minnow, thank you for being the kind of role model this world needs more of. Congratulations to this year's Youth Award of Excellence winner, Minnow Luton. Okay, next we will pop to the Music, Art, Culture, and Heritage Award. This goes to a remarkable young woman who is sharing Sylvan Lake's spirit with the world. Brianna is a gifted Métis fiddler whose talent has taken her across the world, even to Rome, but no matter where she plays, her roots are here in Sylvan Lake. She carries the culture and spirit of her heritage into every note she plays, and with a Juno nomination under her belt, I think it's safe to say, Brianna, you're putting Sylvan Lake on the map in the most beautiful way. Congratulations to this year's Music, Art, Culture, and Heritage Award winner, Brianna Lozotto. You guys, save that clap for when we do it one more time. Sorry about that. And now, this year, let's make sure we get to the right spot. Let's move to the Mayor's Distinguished Award winner. The Mayor's Distinguished Award goes to someone small in size, but absolutely gigantic in impact. At just 6 years old, Preston is already a local hero. Living with CDLS, Preston has shown the community what strength, inclusion, and kindness really look like. He's raised awareness, spread joy, and inspired everyone who's met him. Now, when I got the chance to read the applications, one thing that stood out to me about Preston is while he does an incredible job raising awareness for his own condition, he also uses his voice to support so many other causes, many that have zero impact on him. He's not just advocating for himself, he's showing us what it means to care about making the world just better for everyone. And behind this amazing little leader is a family that encourages and supports his positive spirit every step of the way. Preston, your courage lights up Sylvan Lake. Congratulations to this year's Mayor's Distinguished Award winner, Preston Boyko. We have one more, and it's a big one. Now it is time for our Citizenship Award. This is one that honors those whose everyday actions make extraordinary ripples. This year's recipient, Christy Loy, is one of the rare people who seems to be everywhere. Volunteering at events, cheering on local businesses, building community connections, and lifting others up through her faith, fashion sense, and infectious positivity. Whether she's Cindy Lou Who in the Christmas parade or a helping hand at Cobb's Clothing, Christy leads with heart, humility, and humor. Sylvan Lake is better because she's a part of it. Congratulations to this year's Citizenship Award winner, Christy Loy. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight, and to all the award winners for just making Sylvan Lake a better place to be. We really appreciate all the work that you've done. So with that, we're going to take a recess as long as we need, and we'll head over to the stairs. We'll first grab a photo with all of the award winners and council, and then we can break off into some smaller ones as well, and we'll make sure we finish that before we head back. Thank you. description to read to celebrate one of the awards that we're able to give tonight. And this is for our Music, Art, Culture, and Heritage Award. This goes to a remarkable young woman. It's much easier to make eye contact and see that you're here with a few less people, so I appreciate this. This award goes to a remarkable young woman who is sharing Sylvan Lake's spirit with the world. Brianna is a gifted Métis fiddler, very gifted. I loved when you played at the neighborhood block party last year. That was really fun. Whose talent has taken her across the world, even to Rome. But no matter where she plays, her roots are here in Sylvan Lake. She carries the culture and spirit of her heritage into every note she plays. And with a Juno nomination under her belt, I think it's safe to say, Brianna, you're putting Sylvan Lake on the map in the most beautiful of ways. Congratulations to this year's Music, Art, Culture, and Heritage Award winner, Brianna Lizoto. Oh, I will note, you're welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting, but award winners, if you're not super excited about the rest of the governance we have, now is a totally acceptable time to just slip out if you'd like. It's not rude, people do it all the time on us. So, thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now we'll get down to business. Let's move into our consent agenda items. Consent agenda is a way to increase meeting efficiency by noting a number of items that may be able to be passed in one motion. Council, I'll remind you if you have extensive questions or comments about any of the items, the time to remove them from the consent agenda is prior to the motion being made. So Council, I'll ask the question. Councillor Ostindi?
I have two questions. I don't know if it's reason enough to withdraw them or if I can just ask them now.
I'll allow you to use your judgment.
Okay, I'll ask them now then.
Sure.
One is regarding the number of businesses looking for location in Sylvan Lake. 14 applied in 2025 is what I read on page, I forget the page exactly, but anyways, versus the number of locations that we have to host businesses. I was just wondering if we know that data. And the second question is, are we able to lean on CAPE if we don't get the grant for building the new community profile? Those are my two questions.
Mr. McIntyre, would you be able to answer or direct that question for us?
I've given the eyebrows to our Economic Development Officer, and she's on her way over.
Thank you for the questions through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. I'll address the CAPE one first. So yes, we are utilizing CAPE for the community profile. The data project is around a couple of different pieces that we'll work on should we get that grant. The question, does that satisfy your question?
So it's for additional data, additional profile depth then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The, can you repeat the first question for me?
It was just regarding the number of businesses, locations, because one of the reasons to pause the program was we have a lot of people asking and we probably can't sustain the number of applications coming in. So I was wondering how many do we have applying? I know it's 14 this year already. And do we have a sense of how many spaces in town we have that to kind of counter that number?
That's a tough one. So it's getting, with the number of letters that we have approved currently, we have no way of knowing how many of those letters will turn into businesses coming to our community. So I think there are 7 who are in the process of opening or who have opened so far through the program. And as we've gone through, I'm experiencing some difficulty, not difficulty, but there aren't quite as many space options to choose from, and each individual business needs an individualized space depending on what they're doing. So that's one of the considerations around pausing. We're also getting a lot more inquiries coming in into the program. So for instance, since last Wednesday, we've had 12 emails from different people looking at starting a business in Sylvan Lake through that Rural Entrepreneur Program. And I think at this point, since we have done so many letters, that we take a pause until the end of the year to see how many more of those kind of flush into the community, to make sure that we have the space and we can do a bit of a review of the program and understand kind of more about our needs. And that will, it will be helpful when we complete the data project to be able to understand more about the different industries that we want to target. And then maybe we can become a little more specialized at some point with that program too.
Okay, thank you. I have no need to pull it out.
Sorry, any additional questions, Council? Seeing none, would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Dakin, thank you for volunteering.
I did look around to see if anybody else would like to do this long one, but I will do it.
Pick the long one.
Feel free to take it next time. I move that the 2025-05-07 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes be approved as presented, and I move that the 2025-05-12 regular meeting of Council meeting minutes be approved as presented. I move that Council accepts the Economic Development Project Status Report as information as presented in AIR 1165, and that Council approve the request to pause the Rural Entrepreneur Stream Program pursuant to AIR 1165. I move that Council approves leave of absence for Mayor Hansen for the Committee of the Whole on April 2nd, 2025 for the purpose of council-related business. And I move that Council approves request to attend meeting electronically by Mayor Hansen for the regular meeting of Council on June 9th, 2025 for the purpose of council-related business.
Excellent. Any last hands flying in the air? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move into our public hearing for tonight. The purpose of this hearing is for Council to receive public input regarding proposed bylaw 1925-2025, being a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw 1695-2015. The public hearing date for the bylaw was advertised in Sylvan Lake News on May 8th and May 15th, 2025. I declare that the public hearing for bylaw 1925-2025 is now open. Town administration will now provide background on the proposed bylaw. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So bylaw 1925-2025 is a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw and proposes to redesignate a property at 4201 Memorial Trail from future designation to a direct control site-specific 1 district. The redistricting will help support the reconstruction of an existing detached dwelling not currently supported in the future designation district. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. The following procedures will be used for tonight's hearing. The presentations to Council shall be brief and to the point, limited to 5 minutes. Those persons wishing to make comments will be given an opportunity to comment only once. The order for presentations will be as follows. First, those in support of the proposed amendment, followed by those opposed to the proposed amendment. Third, any other person deemed to be affected by the amendment who wishes to be heard. And finally, administration. Council shall not allow cross-examination of persons giving information, and it will not be necessary for the persons giving information to verify his or her qualifications. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes, and debating or questions from the floor will not be allowed. Please note that Council will not accept any verbal or written submissions after the hearing has been deemed closed. The hearing is now open. At this time, I'll ask administration to read in any comments that have been submitted prior to the meeting for proposed bylaw 1925-2025.
There were no comments received. Thank you.
The hearing is now open for presentations for anyone in attendance who claims to be affected by the proposed bylaws. We'll start with anyone who is in support of proposed bylaw 1925-2025. And one more call for anyone else in support of the proposed bylaw. We'll now hear from anyone who is opposed to proposed bylaw 1925-2025. And one more call if there's anyone here to speak in opposition. And finally, we'll hear from anyone who has been affected by the proposed bylaw 1925-2025. And one last call, is there anyone else in attendance wishing to speak to this bylaw? I am going to assume, Council, there are no follow-up questions from you to administration. So if there's no further questions from Council, I hereby declare that this public hearing is closed. I remind participants that Council will not receive written or verbal submissions after the hearing is closed. Thank you. That's great. Next, we will move along to item 7A, Bylaw 1925-2025, Land Use Bylaw Amendments.
Thank you. So this presentation is for Council's consideration for second and third reading to amend the land use bylaw to redistrict the property at 4201 Memorial Trail from future designation to a direct control site-specific 1 district. The subject parcel is approximately 4.6 acres in size and located within the same quarter section as the Meadowlands Golf Course. The parcel and surrounding lands are currently zoned as future designation with no approved outline plan in effect. The purpose of the FD district is to reserve land for future subdivision and development until more detailed planning has been completed, and as such, restricts the types of uses on lands designated as FD, so as not to negatively impact or impede future development. Under the FD district, only improvements to the existing residents are considered, and in order to support the applicant's proposal to demo an existing detached dwelling that is in significant disrepair and rebuild a new detached dwelling, the parcel must be rezoned to a residential district. The challenge with this application is that the subject property and adjacent lands do not have an approved outline plan, which is typically required prior to redesignation. However, it should be noted the subject area is identified as future low-density residential development in the South Area Structure Plan, providing some direction for long-term land use. When considering the applicant's proposal, administration acknowledged the subject parcel is surrounded by the Meadowlands Golf Course, which is unlikely to undergo redevelopment in the near future. Therefore, the preparation of an outline plan is not anticipated. Administration looked to a solution that would support the redevelopment of the existing home in the absence of an outline plan and determined that many of the key planning considerations, including access, servicing, and key road alignments, can reasonably be addressed at this stage without an outline plan. For example, in terms of future roadway alignments, Planning and Development consulted with Public Works and confirmed that Riders Ridge Boulevard is expected to be extended to the south, providing access to future adjacent parcels within the quarter section. Additionally, design work for the future widening of Memorial Trail has been undertaken, and the existing access to the applicant's parcel will be relocated to the east side of the parcel once this work occurs. In the interim, one access to the property off of Memorial Trail may remain until such time the planned roadway upgrades are undertaken. In terms of servicing, the property is currently serviced by a private water well and on-site wastewater system and can remain in place until municipal services are extended to the area and connection to the town services will be required at that time. This will be a condition on any development permit. Considering the limited nature of the proposed redevelopment and the ability to address servicing and access requirements, administration recommends the parcel be redistricted to a site-specific direct control district. This district will apply solely to the subject property, and the regulations have been tailored specific to the site. This approach is preferred over applying, for example, an R1 district, as it allows the town to limit the scale and type of development to ensure compatibility with future planning. The district would allow for the construction of a new detached dwelling and allow other uses, including accessory buildings, home occupations, and a secondary suite, as outlined in Attachment 2. This district restricts further intensification and subdivision until an approved outline plan for the quarter section has been undertaken and approved. Council would be the approving authority for this district, except for those uses delegated to administration to approve. The public hearing for the proposed bylaw was advertised in the Sylvan Lake News on May 8th and 15th, as well was posted on the town's website. The rezoning was referred to adjacent landowners, internal and external departments where no concerns were raised. Administration respectfully recommends that Council grant second and third reading of bylaw 1925-2025 and the proposed resolution is in your agenda package. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Council, do we have any questions to kick off with? Councillor Ostindi.
Just a question regarding future driveway access to the east. It makes sense to me that probably with Riders Ridge continuing into the new potential development. Does this bind us into staying on the east? Can we change it to the west, for instance, or the south, if that makes more logical sense? Or do they have then rights to say, no, 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 you told me always it was going to be the east? Are we limited?
Through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. I'm sorry, could you clarify the question for me again?
Sure. So it speaks in the report to, at that time, a new access off the eastern property will be provided, because currently it's on the north side, right onto Memorial Drive. And then it says it will be to the east in the future once that area is developed. So I'm wondering, since we have no plans yet, we don't know what might happen, how the developer will approach us, et cetera, et cetera. What if it makes way more sense in the future to have a south access driveway or a west access driveway to the property, just because there may or may not be a road on the east side?
Through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. So the design work for the future road improvements of Memorial Trail, an access would only be able to come off of the east. There would be no opportunity for it to come off of the west at this time. So the applicants have designed the placement of their home with that consideration in mind, which they were, acceptable. That was an acceptable solution to them from having their accesses removed off of Memorial Trail.
So just to clarify then, we are quite determined that there will be a road on that east side. That's what I'm interpreting then.
Yes,
just to be clear.
Yes, there's been planning work that has been
Okay,
done.
because when I heard there was no plan for the zone,
yes.
then I thought, how is it connected? Yeah.
Councillor Mearns.
Just for clarity, there's two accesses on the south side of Memorial Trail. One is east of Riders Ridge Boulevard and one is directly off of Riders Ridge Boulevard. So when the roundabout comes in, it will be making an east access, but still on the south side of Memorial Trail, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Mearns, that's correct, yeah.
Thanks.
Any additional questions, Council? Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Parsons.
Move the council grant second reading to bylaw 1925/2025 as presented in AIR 1164, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 1695/2015.
Excellent. Council, we'll open it up for any debate or comment. Seeing none, all those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Does someone have an appetite for third reading? Councillor Rilling?
I move that council grant third reading to bylaw 1925/2025 as presented in AIR 1164, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 1695/2015.
Excellent. Any additional comment? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we will move along to item 7C, snow removal, sidewalk maintenance. Mr. Moore, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. With this report, we're looking for Council to consider adding unpaid expenses and costs incurred by the town to the tax roll of these property owners listed in the report who failed to remove snow and ice from the sidewalks over the recent winter season from December through January of this year. The authority to do it, as such, comes from, of course, the Community Standards Bylaw and Section 553 of the Municipal Government Act. I won't go into all the details, but the properties are listed in the report. The total this year, we do this annually, is $819.50. So we're looking for council to add these to the tax roll or not add them to the tax roll, or provide administration different direction tonight.
Excellent. Do we have any questions, council? Someone like to make a motion? Councillor Ostindi.
I move that council approves adding the unpaid expenses and costs incurred by the town for the removal of snow and ice from sidewalks adjacent to properties to the tax rolls of the following properties effective June 1st, 2025, as outlined in AIR 1172. The properties include 1 Pickering Close, $341.25, 5003, or I should say 5003, 43rd Street, $84, 4314, 48th Avenue, $252.50, and 3914, 50th Avenue, $141.75.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any debate, council? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we've got election count bylaw 1924-2025. Issue.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. I am here tonight to provide council with the required motion to proceed with allowing additional time to count the advance poll ballots in the 2025 municipal election in the town of Sylvan Lake. Historically, the advance poll has contained more ballots than any other single poll, and the time to count these ballots has resulted in a delay of election results. In an effort to provide election results in a timely manner, it is proposed that the advance poll begin at 7:30 p.m. in a secure location at the Municipal Government Building. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. We'll start with that. Would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Mearns.
I make a motion that council give second reading to the election count bylaw 1924-2025 for the 2025 municipal election.
Excellent. Any debate? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Does someone have an appetite for third reading? Councillor Rilling?
Sure. I move the council give third reading of the election count bylaw 1924-2025 for the 2025 municipal election.
Excellent. Thank you. One last opportunity for comment or debate. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. We will move along to the election voting hours bylaw.
I'm here to provide council with the required motion to proceed with scheduling the 2025 municipal election in the town of Sylvan Lake. The Local Authorities Elections Act, Section 46, Subsection 1, provides for the polling station to be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is believed that it is more accessible to electors to have increased hours in which to vote. Pursuant to the Local Authorities Elections Act, Section 46, Subsection 2, an elected authority may, by bylaw, provide that the polling station is open before 10 a.m. I am proposing that we open at 8 a.m.
Excellent. Council, do we have any questions on this? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Payne.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw 1926-2025 to have the poll hours be extended to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Excellent. Any debate? All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. It's Councillor Parsons, would you like, sorry?
Sure.
Third reading, I already saw the hand. I was just going out of order with what was coming out of my mouth.
I'll try and do it. I'll try.
You've got this.
And move that council give third reading to bylaw 1926-2025 to have the poll hours extended to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Excellent. Last chance for any debate. It's hard to argue making things more accessible. So all those in favor and opposed, that is carried unanimously. Thank you. We have done a number of different election-related motions recently. Are there any others that have to be done before a certain deadline that we can expect, or this is really the wrap-up? Wonderful.
Unless we have some brand new legislation that comes down the pipe, at this point, we're good.
So it's not out of the question. We'll see you again. Thank you. All right, moving along to item 7G, the 2025 council meeting schedule amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here tonight with a short presentation regarding the 2025 Council Meeting Schedule Amendment Report. The purpose of this report is to amend the previous motion 217-10-24 that was passed during the organizational meeting held on October 28, 2024. The following meeting schedule is recommended by administration. That regular council meetings will be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and the committee of the whole meetings of council will be held the first and third Tuesday of each month. All meetings will have a beginning time of 4 p.m. with a motion to be passed if exceeding 3 hours. This amendment to the schedule is recommended to begin on June 10th, 2025 for a regular meeting of council. Amendments to the procedure bylaw 1886-2023 will be brought forth in June to align with the recommended changes in this report. On your desk is an optional resolution to bring forth the amendments needed regarding the procedure bylaw 1886-2023. I am open to any questions or comments. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions to start off with? And then would someone like to put forward a motion? Councillor Rilling.
I move that council directs administration to bring forward amendments to procedure bylaw number 1886-2023 that reflect the new meeting schedule within the month of June 2025.
That's great. Thank you. Council, do we have any comments or debate? Councillor Dakin.
I really thought about this one. My biggest concern is having meetings on every single Tuesday for the next council, just for planning of being able to leave with meeting all the requirements. I think that we would be possible to still achieve productive meetings that aren't as long with one committee of the whole meeting on the third Tuesday and still open up the second Tuesday for just an open spot in our schedules. On a Tuesday, I really did go back and forth and think about it a lot, and I am not comfortable with having a meeting on every single Tuesday. That's how I feel about it. And also on the second point would be, is 5 o'clock really a good time for people to get off work and come here? Or sorry, no, for open mic. Okay. Yeah. To get here in time, I don't think that makes it super accessible for people.
Any other comments or debate? Councillor Ostindi.
To the second point Councillor Dakin made, I was thinking about that open mic time and public delegations. We maybe aim to have them at a certain time, but work with the groups that are making those delegations to see when the ideal times would be. And I suspected they were going to go more to committee of the whole, but we're saying in the regular council meeting, and usually open delegations don't have a requirement to make a decision. So my feeling is they could be at either one very easily. And I'm not, I was going to say married to the idea of the 5 p.m. Yeah, 5 p.m. for the open delegation,
That we were, just to be clear, we were planning on the meeting time for 5. I also agree, and the place we'll address that is in that procedural bylaw amendment.
Okay.
But I agree. I actually think that many of our delegations, when I think back the last year who've they been, they actually probably want the 4 o'clock slot. So I think leaving openness for whatever time works, but open mic, I think 5 o'clock is nice to have that set time for. And I agree, I'd like to see more delegations at our committee of the whole. So that would also allow for that through the procedural bylaw change. Councillor Mearns.
Yeah, just, I guess along the same avenue, I would be open to 5:30, like even extended half hour, so when that comes up, we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and I think, yeah, we will get to debate that, the specific time through the procedural bylaw, because that's where it's noted, correct? Any additional comments? And then Mr. McIntyre, can you help me where we've gone astray here?
That's okay, absolutely. So we have a motion on the floor from Councillor Rilling, which was the subsequent motion provided on your desktops, which is fantastic. We just also need to address whether or not council would like to read the motion in on page 83 of your agendas, if you'd like them both to be in force and effect.
Great. So we will vote on one and then go to the other, but
that'll work just fine.
Be aware, first we are speaking of the procedural bylaw update, but we certainly should talk about it if we're looking on doing anything wild here in reverse, because if we're keeping the existing schedule, there is no need for this secondary motion. Any other, yeah?
Sorry, Mayor. So just with the second motion, as outlined in the report, there was already the plan for administration to bring forward the procedure bylaw in the month of June. This is really just solidifying that that is the will of council. So we're going to do that in any case.
Excellent. Well, that seems like a pretty straightforward motion to go with that Councillor Rilling has made. So why don't we vote for that and get that done? It is the one on the separate sheet of paper, just that we bring forward the amendment to the procedural bylaw. Because currently it does outline, and this will cover things like our attendance commitments with each other, the timing of our open microphone or presentation or delegations. It also currently lays out the timing of exceeding 9 p.m. needing a motion, and if we're starting at 4, I think we probably want to adjust that. So those will be coming at a next meeting if we approve that work wants to go forward. So are we clear on what we are voting on here, Councillor Rilling's motion? Councillor Dakin?
I'm sorry, just for clarity for me, maybe I'm just tired from the weekend, but so we're not voting on switching the meetings to Tuesdays?
Right now, the motion on the floor is just this one.
Just this one?
It's just, yeah. Okay. But we will be bringing one after another. Yeah. Let's go, Councillor Rilling's motion on the floor. This is to direct administration to bring forward amendments to the procedural bylaw that reflect the new meeting schedule within the month of June. So we'll see that next month. Councillor Payne.
Aren't we putting the cart before the horse? Yeah, we're doing this inappropriately. Like, we need to vote on this motion before we vote on that motion, because we're putting forth a motion to make changes that we haven't decided we're going to make.
What do we do when we already have a motion on the table if we'd like to switch order?
So we, and the mover of the motion can make an amendment to their own motion. And so given the motion that was read in, you could elect to delete the words, "the new meeting schedule," and then it would still be in force and effect, where we're bringing back the procedure bylaw, and we'll bring it back with whatever council wants to bring it back with.
Okay. Do we have any option to table it, or does that make our life really complicated?
No, you could table it and address it after another motion. Typically, when you've added a motion to the floor, you do want to see it through to its completion, but knowing the will of council, I think we can untie that knot on the other side. Okay.
All right. Let's table that motion. Would someone like to make another motion? Do we need to vote on that being tabled? We're all agreeing here?
I think you're all in agreement.
Thank you. Okay, would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Payne.
Okay, the way in which this motion's read, it has pieces attached to pieces. So I'm a little confused because I would almost look at this motion, the proposed resolution, and think that it probably should be separate motions. Because the whole first section is in regards to potential meeting times going forward in the calendar. And I don't really understand what the second section is for. Because it sounds to me like we're just dealing with the current session of council. Am I correct?
That's right. And through the chair, sorry for the confusion. So you can start after October 1st.
So the entire motion would be that portion at the bottom that council accepts the amended schedule.
So what you see above that resolution
Yes.
is the motion that was made at the organizational meeting. So the one that we're hoping to hear from council today is the one that begins at the
that's
bottom of page
It's
83.
very confusing.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So I move that council accepts the amended schedule of meetings for the 2025 council calendar year beginning June 10th, 2025 and proceeding through until the next organizational meeting to start at 4 p.m. in council chambers as amended pursuant to AIR 1174.
Wonderful, and they are the meetings listed on the back of that page. I think we can. So we did have some discussion from Councillor Dakin around this potentially being too frequent. Would anyone else like to speak to that? Councillor Payne.
I don't think it's too frequent in the sense that we've had the conversation about the committee of the whole meetings, not necessarily being consistently committee of the whole meetings, but more like a placeholder for that second committee of the whole meeting. So I don't have as much of an issue with the every Tuesday. However, I do actually like the idea of it being consistent, of having the Tuesday instead of having the Monday and the Wednesday. So I don't mind the Tuesday. It does interfere tremendously with my movie night, but I will adjust.
Movies could start at 7.
Yes, they can, if meetings can end at 7.
That's exactly.
We'll have to see. So I'm perfectly fine with the every Tuesday, with the understanding that we're not simply going to fill that second committee of the whole meeting just because we feel like having a meeting.
I think I'll echo that in the sense of when you look at our history, there are many times where we cancel committee of the wholes, and then we've been a little bit overrun in recent times with things to deal with. I actually anticipate, especially leading up to an election, that we will have some cancellations, but we have to put them in the schedule before, and then when there's no agenda items to be had, we would go through the same process that we've always done and remove those items. Councillor Mearns.
And also to that point, I don't know how many times we've seen, at least in the last year, where we're trying to get another meeting for something. And so we've already got that placeholder and everyone's got it in their schedule instead of, I can't imagine the planning nightmare would be, just trying to get everybody at one time. This way we know it's every Tuesday and it might be an hour, but at least we have that spot that's available, so I'm fine with it.
Councillor Dakin.
I like all those points. I think that one of the positives of doing this is that administration doesn't have so much late time, but also now we're adding another meeting potentially on their schedule that they can't plan for life events outside of work for. Also, not just us, but it's all of our staff, right? So it's not just me, I'm thinking about every single Tuesday that they have off. At least we could free up one Tuesday. And if we aren't gonna do it anyway, or we don't see that we could fill it, why don't we just keep one open? Because it is taking, it's not just our time, it's all the staff every single Tuesday. I love Tuesday. I'm great with Tuesday. I'll go to watch my movies on Wednesday.
Councillor Cindy.
I just want to add that Monday nights is the Film Society night. So.
All right, do we have any additional conversation around this specifically? Seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed, that is carried unanimously. Now we have the motion from Councillor Rilling around the procedural bylaw. Is there anything that we'd like to chat about on there? Makes complete sense in the order. And just to be very clear with my thoughts, the areas I'd like to see come back is where it specifically talks about meeting time. I actually think that we could remove that from the procedural bylaw because the motion identifies that. Then we talked about assessing this on an annual basis. We don't need to update the procedural bylaw if it just says once we've hit 3 hours, we would need a motion to extend rather than naming out that end time. If we ever flexed either way, we don't have to do that so specifically. And our attendance conversation that we'd have to make some modifications more frequent, then we need to be a bit more lenient on that. So I'd like to see that come back through there as well.
I lose my one and only duty.
Well, we could still go 3 hours, but I think with the additional meeting, it is less likely, but I'm sure we'll still have a job. It'll just be at 7 p.m., not 9, but great. Any additional comments? All those in favor and opposed, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. I assume we will see many of updates to our council calendar starting tomorrow. I will remind us all, there's a responsibility on our end when something is deleted that you actually have to click that you accept it. Otherwise, we will be haunted for the rest of this term with Monday night meetings that don't exist. So when the updates come in, make sure you accept whatever is sent to us. Thank you. All right, next we move along to correspondence and information items. We've got a number there, including the newly moved Q1 concerns and request report. Do you have any questions on those, council? Seeing none, we are at the CAO report. Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mayor. So you'll see the CAO report on pages 127 and 128 of your agenda, and I'll just hit some highlights for you. So, of course, everyone enjoyed the Citizen of the Year award ceremony just now. Super glad that that was moved into council meetings. We also heard during the council meeting about the social master plan focus groups that are ongoing. In the proclamations as well, we heard about Seniors Week coming up June 2nd to 8th. Also like to highlight June 15th, which is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Skate park ambassadors are now on duty Monday to Friday in May and June, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week, July and August from noon to 8 p.m. The department miscellaneous lease for the lakefront, additional information has been submitted to Environment and Parks. The fire rescue boat is in the water for the season and already in action. Planning and Development Housing Summit coming up on June 17th. Under Public Works, the large item pickup was successful with 125 registered collections, and the next one is scheduled for October 2025. And administration under engineering is investigating if the traffic signals at 48th Avenue and 50th Avenue and Lakeshore Drive can be synchronized together with a modified timing to improve traffic flows in the area. As council is aware, those lights are also linked with the CN rail line, so our options are somewhat limited, but just know that staff are taking a look into what is possible there. Coming up on May 31st, we've got the H.J. Cody graduation, and wanted to have a special shout out to our staff member, Jensen Cavallari, for receiving the Friends of Diversity Award at the 2025 Diversity Awards for her work with the Swim Abilities program. And those are the highlights, Mayor. And if council has got any comments or questions, I'm all ears.
Excellent. Councillor Ostindi.
One question regarding the Housing Summit. I know it's been made public. I was wondering if some of the people that do work in housing have been targeted for specific invitations. And there's, I know in the Lodge Foundation, we speak about 6 or 7 groups that we've identified both in Red Deer and Sylvan Lake that do work in that housing arena.
Indeed. I'll turn things over to Ms. Devlin and she'll address that question.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Ostindi. We did have an initial list that the invites were sent out to. They included housing providers, builders, developers, other organizations or associations we knew had an interest in housing, as well as posted on social media, and it'll be in the newspaper. So we are receiving quite a few RSVPs. I will say, however, if there's any organizations from Red Deer that council would like to see invited, please feel free to send those over to us and we can target them specifically. But if they weren't, other than the Red Deer Housing Authority that we do know have housing units here, there were no others on the list that I can think of. No, that they were specifically targeted to come.
Yeah, I'll send an email, but just so you know, the email's coming on a group. The Red Deer Native Friendship Society does a lot of housing work. They don't have housing in Sylvan Lake, but they help quite a few of our citizens too. So I'll share that.
Great.
Formally.
Okay. Any additional questions? Thank you. Seeing none. Next up, we have council notices of motion, the Parson Drive crosswalk. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are here to provide Council with information regarding a potential crosswalk installation at the intersection of Parson Drive at Peterson Way. A map and some photographs of that area are shown in attachment 1 of your report for your reference. The town's roadway marking policy requires that crosswalks are marked, meaning road markings in most cases signage, at various locations including school and playground zones or collector and arterial roads. The policy does not require marked crosswalks at intersections where two local roads meet, such as Parson Drive and Peterson Way, unless there are unusual circumstances like irregular road geometry, poor sight lines, high traffic and or pedestrian volumes, or high average traffic speeds. That policy is included as attachment 2 with the 2 relevant sections highlighted for ease of review. Because of Council's consideration for marked crosswalk on Parson Drive, administration has prepared some options and information to assist and support whatever Council's decision may be. The first option is straightforward and in support of the motion, which is to direct administration to install the crosswalk. This would be a simple process since the concrete para-ramps are already in place, and we would simply install the necessary signage and paint the crosswalk lines within 30 days of receiving direction from Council at a cost of under $1,500. The concern from administration with this option that it is inconsistent with our roadway marking policy. The second option involves directing administration to determine if a marked crosswalk is warranted at this location by collecting data and making observations. With this option, the decision to proceed with a marked crosswalk or not will be supported by an evidence-based evaluation. This will ensure that the process is transparent and justifiable. The third option involves extending the existing playground zone on Parson Drive south to include the intersection at Peterson Way. This would permit the crosswalk to be marked within the parameters of the roadway marking policy, but it is inconsistent with industry standards and does not take into consideration other similar intersections that are located elsewhere in town. And the final option, number 4, involves presenting the roadway marking policy to Council for a review and amendment to include marking crosswalks that have similar characteristics to the Parson Drive Peterson Way intersection. For example, the policy could extend the requirement for marked crosswalks beyond the playground zone by a certain distance. Or perhaps we could create a new road classification in the policy, such as a minor collector, which would receive marked crosswalks. Either way, we would present these and some other options for consideration that would ensure that this intersection and other similar intersections received marked crosswalks if Council chooses that direction. Regardless of the direction given to administration, as the road authority in Sylvan Lake, obviously Council has full authority and control over the installation of marked crosswalks at locations of their choosing. We have presented some options for Council's consideration, including to support the motion. However, administration respectfully recommends option 2, that Council directs administration to evaluate the requirement for a marked crosswalk at Parson Drive and Peterson Way, to install a marked crosswalk if warranted, and to report the results of that evaluation back to Council once completed. Thank you.
Council, do we have any questions to start off with? Councillor Ostindi.
One question, how far from a crosswalk can someone park? Is it 5 meters?
Yeah, from the upstream side, the traffic direction side is 5 meters, and it's 0 meters on the downstream side.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Would someone like to put forward one of the motions? Councillor Rilling.
I have a question, I guess, first, and that is, when I think about collecting data, I also think about money. You know, just the cost, all of that it takes. And so if we're collecting data, and wouldn't that cost $1,500 in a really quick time? Like, has there been any concerns in any of the other four places?
Well, thank you for the question, and through the chair, collecting data does take time, but this is a typical response to these type of inquiries. We do it all the time, every week, maybe more, maybe a little less, but this is typical when we get a request from somebody, a resident or a council. The first thing we do is default back to to substantiate in that request and trying to find out. So, and this takes time. It takes, in fact, we started collecting data a couple days ago. We placed a radar speed sign in anticipation of whatever council may decide, and we're collecting data right now. So there is labor and there's some cost, and then there's going to be a future report coming back, and there's time and staff time, but that's what we're here for, and that's what we do for sure. So yeah, you know, like it's probably going to cost a similar amount as to what it would cost to install the marked crosswalk, but based on concerns from the public, and you know, not necessarily speaking about this one from council, we want to just say, oh, we can save money by just doing what they want. We certainly want to do that. We strive for consistency, and that's why we default back to policies and bylaws, you know, bureaucratic, you know, instincts kick in, and that's what we do. And when we get a request to stray from that policy and that bureaucratic process, you know, we go into this mode where, but what if someone else requests the same thing? We can't substantiate one. And I'm not saying, we don't have any data, so I'm not saying it's warranted or not, but we won't know that for sure. But, you know, if we can't substantiate this one, how can we say no to future inquiries that are similar, you know, and it's a real concern for us. And, you know, council is the road authority, and we'll do obviously whatever our direction is, but certainly there's all those kind of concerns from our perspective. But cost, you know, cost and time is what we're here for, and that's what we do for sure.
Councillor Payne.
Well, I just think the collection of data is never a bad thing in terms of moving forward with policy change. If they collect data on this and they discover that, you know, there is something that's warranted, then it brings to bear the question, should we be examining these other 4 intersections? So I don't think the data collection is ever a bad thing. It may cost a little money, but if you get better policy in the end, it's worth the investment.
Councillor Mearns.
Yeah, and further to that point, and Mr. Watson mentioned it as well, when we have the data to substantiate it and there's questions on why this crosswalk and not other ones, we have that data to say that one way or the other. As much as I like having one there, to have the data to back it would be even better. And so that's the way I would lean.
With that, would someone be interested in putting here a data collection? And we do have some wording on a recommended motion for that. Is someone interested? Councillor Payne?
Are you asking to make the motion,
Yes.
the initial one? I think that, yeah, I would move that council directs administration to collect data to evaluate and determine if a marked crosswalk is warranted on Parsons Drive at Peterson Way, as recommended in report AIR 1170.
Excellent. Do we want to debate and discuss? Councillor Rilling.
I'm not debating. I'm just, I really appreciate the speed already that people they come around that corner and they start going down that hill and slow down, you know, and that just makes me really happy because it's my fear for children that has really made me want this done. And I'm not opposed to data. I want to stick to policy. But I'm really glad we're moving this forward and we're paying attention to it. And I mean, to me it's warranted, but if it's not, then we have to live with what's there. But yeah, I'm not against it and don't think that I am, but I'm really thankful that we're paying attention to it and willing to do something about it. So thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Cindy?
I was just going to say I support that connection to data, and it really opens up what Councillor Payne said about it might force us to think about these other locations, and I like how administration has talked about these consequences to other locations, because someone may not have identified something that's just as risky in another neighborhood. And also when we tell someone they've lost a parking spot, it helps when we can say, we have studied this corner and your parking spot is gone. It's nobody's parking spot. It's public parking spot. We all know that. However, we know there's one parking spot that's going to disappear in front of this one house, and that data will reaffirm why this negative is supported by this positive of having a crosswalk there for good reason, we'll assume at this point.
Great. We have a motion on the floor. Any further debate, discussion? Let's call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. What do we do with B, Mr. McIntyre? Do we just continue on, or?
It's a good question, Mayor. It's my understanding that the notice of motion that Councillor Rilling made generated the report that is 11A. So I think that it's dealt with.
Great. I think so as well. Just having a second number there, I didn't know what to do with my tick marks.
Understood.
Wanted to make sure. I actually really appreciate that notice of motion coming back with a little bit of information that we can gather and helping direct us. I have made a couple of notices of motion and it felt a little bit like, can I put these words in here? So having a bit of an administrative high-level review on it and providing some options I think is helpful. That's great. We'll look for a motion to go in closed meeting. Councillor Mearns.
Make the motion this regular council meeting continue with the closed session to discuss a land matter, and this shall remain confidential pursuant to 24(1)(c) of FOIP and section 197(2) of the MGA.
Excellent. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Council will take a 5-minute recess and reconvene in the back. Councillor Ridling.
I move that the closed session concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.